Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the hidden stories in company filings. Today we're diving into IRADIMED Conserva's latest report, and let's just say they've got some interesting news that might make you look at your medical devices a little differently. So what's the big deal? Well, IRADIMED just dropped their earnings report for the quarter ending June 30th, 2025. It's essentially a snapshot of how they're doing financially, and it gives us a peek behind the curtain of their operations, especially concerning their medical devices that monitor things like breathing and blood pressure. IRADIMED is a publicly traded company, meaning their stock, their common shares, are available for anyone to buy on the stock market. Their shares trade on the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol IRMD. Now, the most important part of this filing is where they talk about their results of operations and their overall financial condition. That's the juicy stuff, the numbers that tell us if the company is growing, shrinking, or just treading water. They announce their financial results, and then they basically say, hey, here's a press release with all the details. This press release dated August 1st, 2025 is where all the financial meat is. Think of the 8K filing as the cover letter and the press release as the detailed report. We're going to skim through this report to find the most telling numbers and insights, ignoring the usual corporate speak and focusing on what actually matters for investors and anyone interested in the health of IRADIMED. Today, we're going to focus on the core financial aspects of this report, what these numbers mean for the company's strategy, and whether their business is truly on solid ground. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future dives like this. We also have a fantastic community over on Discord where we break down these filings even further, so check out that link in the description below. Okay, let's get into the nuts and bolts. IRADIMED's main game is in medical devices, particularly those that monitor patients. They're pretty specialized in this area. When we look at their financials, we're trying to see if their specialized products are translating into solid business performance. The IRS employer identification number is just a tax identifier, not super interesting for us, but it's good to know it's there. The real action is in how the company is performing financially. The registrant, that's IRADIMED Conserva's, is incorporated in Delaware. Delaware is a popular state for companies to incorporate because of its business-friendly laws, but that's just a bit of background corporate structure stuff. The date of the report is August 1, 2025. This tells us precisely when this information was made public. Now, here's a little piece of corporate language that's important to understand. When they say the information isn't filed for purposes of Section 18 of the Exchange Act, it's a way of saying they're providing this info, but they're not taking on the same kind of legal responsibility for it as they would for other parts of their filings. It's a bit like saying this is for your information only in a way that satisfies regulatory requirements. It doesn't mean the numbers aren't real, but it's a legal nuance to be aware of. Item 9.01 is where they list all the exhibits that come with this report. Think of exhibits as the supporting documents. The most crucial one here is Exhibit 99.1, which is that press release we've been talking about that contains their actual financial results for the quarter. So Exhibit 99.1 is essentially the company's own announcement of their quarterly performance. This is where we need to dig in to see if they're hitting their targets or missing the mark. And then there's Exhibit Info, which is the cover page in an interactive data format. This part is more for the machines, the software that automatically pulls and processes financial data from these filings. It's like a digital index for their financial statements. And at the very end, we see the signatures confirming that the report is official. John Glenn, the Chief Financial Officer, has signed off on this as CFO. He's the guy who knows the numbers inside and out, so his signature essentially vouches for the accuracy of the report within those stated legal parameters. Now let's talk about the actual financial performance. Since this filing primarily points to a press release for the detailed financial results, we'd typically be looking at that press release for concrete numbers like revenue, profit, and earnings per share. Unfortunately, this particular SEC filing itself doesn't contain the detailed financial tables. It's more of a notification that the results have been released. However, based on the structure and common practices for a filing like this on August 1st, 2025, we can infer that IRADIMED would be reporting on their performance for the quarter ending June 30th, 2025. If we were to have the press release content here, we'd be looking for things like revenue growth. Are they selling more of their medical monitoring devices? Is their customer base expanding? A consistent upward trend in revenue is a strong indicator of a healthy business. Profitability. Are they making money? We check their net income, even if revenue is growing. If their costs are growing faster, they might not be profitable. We'd want to see a healthy profit margin, meaning they keep a good portion of every dollar they earn as profit. Earnings per share, or EPS. This is a key metric for investors as it shows how much profit is allocated to each outstanding share of common stock. A rise in EPS is generally a positive sign for shareholders. Cash flow, how much actual cash is the company generating from its operations? Sometimes companies can look profitable on paper, but struggle with generating actual cash, which is essential for paying bills, investing in the future, and returning value to shareholders. If the press release indicated, for example, a 15% year-over-year revenue increase, that would mean they are selling significantly more products. If their net income also grew faster, say by 20%, it would suggest they are becoming more efficient in managing their costs or have pricing power. Conversely, if revenue grew but net income lagged or even decreased, we'd have to investigate why. Are their manufacturing costs up? Are they spending more on research and development, which could be good for the long term but hurts short-term profits? Are they facing increased competition that's forcing them to lower prices? External context is also important. How are their competitors performing? Is the medical device market generally growing, or is it facing headwinds? IRADIMED's performance needs to be viewed within this broader industry landscape. For instance, if the entire sector is experiencing a slowdown, even modest growth from IRADIMED could be considered a win. But if competitors are showing much stronger growth, then IRADIMED might be losing market share. Looking at IRADIMED specifically, they operate in a critical but sensitive sector. The demand for reliable patient monitoring systems is always present, especially with an aging global population. Their ability to innovate and maintain high-quality products is paramount. Any issues with their devices, recalls, or regulatory hurdles could severely impact their reputation and financials. Here's where my analysis comes in. Without the specific numbers from the press release, it's hard to give a definitive verdict. However, the fact that they are filing this 8K and providing a press release indicates they are communicating their performance to the market. The critical thing for investors is the trend. Are they on an upward trajectory in terms of sales and profitability? Are they reinvesting wisely in their products and technology? Some potential risks for a company like IRADIMED could include intense competition, regulatory changes impacting medical devices, or reliance on a few key products. An opportunity might lie in expanding into new geographical markets or developing next-generation monitoring technology. In conclusion, this filing is essentially a notification that IRADIMED has released its quarterly results. To truly understand their performance, one would need to access and analyze the content of that August 1st press release. My advice as a general principle, always dig into the actual financial statements. What IRADIMED shared today is the announcement. The next step is to examine the details of that announcement to see the story the numbers are telling about their health and future prospects. Alright, that's our quick decode of this IRADIMED filing. If you found this helpful, give us a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think IRADIMED's performance might look like based on this filing? And don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth looks at what's really going on in the corporate world. Join our Discord community in the description for even more discussions and insights. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next decode.